The house was always quiet in the early morning. Birds sang outside the window, and sunlight slipped through the curtains. He woke up and reached for her side of the bed, but it was empty. It had been empty for a while now. Still, he reached for it every day. She used to wake up before him, make tea, and hum soft songs while the kettle boiled. The smell of cardamom and ginger would fill the kitchen. Now, the house smelled of dust and old memories. He sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his eyes, and whispered to the silence, "Good morning, my dear wife." It had become a habit, talking to her even though she wasn't there. Not because he had forgotten she was gone, but because it helped him remember she had once been real. They had met many years ago, on a rainy afternoon in the town library. He was looking for an old book on gardening. She was reading poetry, her eyes dancing across the page. She sneezed softly, and he looked up. Their eyes met. He smiled. She smiled back. It was nothing magical, no music, no thunder, just a quiet beginning to a forever story. They started talking about books, about rain, about nothing and everything. Soon, one meeting became two, then three. He began waiting for her without knowing he was waiting. One day, he said, "I think you make the world a little softer," and she laughed, covering her mouth shyly. A few months later, he asked her to be his wife. She said yes with tears in her eyes. They didn't have much, just a small house, some books, a garden, and each other. But they had enough. She painted the walls with her laughter. She brought life to the empty rooms. When he came home from work, tired and dusty, she would greet him with a smile and warm food. They would sit by the window in the evenings, sipping tea, watching the sky change colors. They had small fights, too, about forgotten things, burnt rice, or muddy shoes. But the fights never stayed long. One of them would always reach out first, say sorry, and offer a hug. Love lived in those small moments. When the first child came, everything changed. The nights became shorter, but the days felt fuller. She held the baby in her arms like the world was perfect. He watched her from the doorway, amazed. "You are magic," he whispered once. She smiled, tired but glowing. They raised their children together, with stories, gentle hands, and shared dreams. She taught them kindness. He taught them strength. She taught them to sing. He taught them to listen. The house grew louder, busier, happier. Years passed. Wrinkles came. The children grew and left to build their own lives. But he and his wife remained, older, slower, but still holding hands during evening walks. They planted more flowers in the garden. They read books aloud to each other. She still made tea every morning. He still smiled at her like he did the first time. Then came the sickness. It started with forgetfulness. Small things at first, keys, names, dates. Then it became harder. She would wake up and look at him with puzzled eyes. Sometimes she remembered. Sometimes she didn't. He stayed by her side. He cooked her favorite meals, even when she didn't eat. He told her stories from their past, hoping something would light up in her eyes. Some days she smiled and said, "You're the man for my dreams." Other days she cried, not knowing who he was. He never cried in front of her. He waited until she was asleep. Then he sat in the kitchen, staring at nothing, missing the woman who was still there but slowly fading. One day, she didn't wake up. The silence was deep. The tea kettle didn't whistle. Her chair by the window remained empty. The house that once echoed with laughter now felt like a museum of memories. People came and went. They hugged him, said kind words, brought food, but nothing filled the hole inside. Now, every morning, he woke up and whispered, "Good morning, my dear wife." He still made 2 cups of tea. He drank one and placed the other by her favorite chair. The garden still bloomed, and he watered it just the way she liked. Every evening, he sat by the window and read out loud to the silence. He picked her favorite poems, her favorite stories. Sometimes he cried. Sometimes he smiled. He started writing letters to her. He kept them in a wooden box by the bed. Each one began with, "My dear wife." He told her about his day, about the weather, about the flowers. He told her how much he missed her and how thankful he was for the life they had. He never stopped loving her. Years passed. One morning, he didn't wake up. The tea kettle stayed cold. The garden waited for water. They found him with a letter in his hand. It read, "My dear wife, I'm coming to you. I've waited long enough. I hope you'll be waiting by the window with that smile of yours. I've missed you every single day. I'll bring stories. You bring the tea. With all my love, me." They buried him next to her, under the big tree in the garden they had planted together. The stone read, "Together forever, side by side." The house stood quiet, but full of love, and in the breeze that passed through the garden, in the scent of tea in the morning, in the pages of old books by the window, there lived a love story that never ended. Speech balloon moral of the story: true love is not about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about choosing each other every single day, even in silence, even in sorrow. Love like that never fades. It stays even when one is gone. It becomes the air you breathe, the memory you hold, and the hope that keeps your heart beating.